Hey there, you, me, and DC fans, and welcome if you are new. I am the stepson of Krypton,
Diamantis.
and today we are back with Justice League Unlimited issue number 5. Now, I know it seems like it's been a little while since we've done one of these. However, since they only come out monthly, we don't have much choice. We're only about a few days out from when issue 5 released. So, Mantis, since it has been a little while, are you ready to go ahead and just dive on into this discussion?
I'm ready.
All right, then let's go. All right, guys. So we are back with Justice League Unlimited issue number 5. Now, heads up, if you have not read it yet, I would probably hold off on watching this video until you do. So, because there are going to be major spoilers ahead. It's the only time I'm going to say it this one, because usually we always say that about 3 times, 4 times throughout an episode. I'm like, you should know there's spoilers ahead.
Say this
So,
whole episode is a spoiler. The whole thing.
whole damn thing. So, this issue, we're just going to jump right into it. If you want to see the recap of the previous issues, I'll have the videos linked down below. Or Mantis, you got to get on him about reminding me to link them when I upload these because I don't. I'm real bad about it. I always have them showing up on the screen. I'm real bad about linking them, but go check those videos out. We are just going to jump right into issue number 5, where we open up to Sydney, Australia, and we are at the H2O summit. No, I'm just kidding. It's the G2O summit. When I read that, that's the first thing I went to. Corny dad joke, even though I don't have
The
kids.
G20.
The G2 summit. And we see Impulse and Flash actually. They're having a discussion, and Impulse, where he's acting real bored. He's acting like the kid that he is. And then we flash forward. We see Supergirl and we see Wonder Woman, and they're meeting with some of the delegates. And then we have Green Lantern and Star Sapphire, who obviously is Green Lantern's Boo as the kid. Well, I don't even know
Hmm.
if they say that anymore. I don't know what they
They
call him
don't.
anymore.
I don't. I
That's
don't
that's
know.
probably like a 10-year ago thing. But regardless,
Yeah.
um, forgive my not being up on Gen Z vernacular. Um, but we do see another hero. We get introduced to a new hero, and that is Thunderlord. Not to be confused with the exotic machine gun from Destiny and Destiny 2.
Hmm.
Um, so he's talking to Flash is talking to Thunderlord about keeping the delegates. There's these 20 delegates that they're meeting with, and obviously we have the 6 superheroes that. Right as he's saying we got to keep these guys safe, boom, they're teleported to what looks to be another dimension.
Yeah.
Um,
You know what's funny is on that page in the comic, like that's on the left side, and then on the right side, it's just they're there, right? And there's monsters everywhere. I thought like I got a bad issue. I thought like I was missing a page or two from my comic. And no, that's not actually, it's like literally boom, they were there, right?
Yeah, but do you see how much easier that is to do than if you are actually having to do that on like the big screen? You can
Oh
just go
yeah.
from page to page and just one line of dialogue. We've been teleported to so and so.
Right.
Okay, sweet. It,
And
it
everyone just,
works. All right.
yeah, everyone just
Um,
accepts it, right? There's like, oh yeah, that happened. Okay.
so after we get the quick cut of them just being in this new weird universe with some plant monsters and such, we kick back to the Watchtower with Mister Terrific, and he's talking to good old Red about the missing delegates, right? And they call out a very specific time. They call out, I believe it's 7:03 is when the people went. I think it's 7:03 or 7:43, but I'm pretty sure it's
Mhm.
7:03. That the delegates, everybody went missing, the heroes and all of this other stuff. And then we see them. They're like, okay, we need to call in some big guns, right? We had mentioned in previous issues that we haven't got to see a lot of the big guns. We don't get to see, we saw a little
Mhm.
bit of Wonder Woman, but we don't see like a lot of Superman and all of that. So obviously they call down to Superman, but he is in Japan dealing with a whole squad of robots sent by none other than our good old friends. And then we flash
Inferno.
to do what?
Inferno.
I was leaving it as a spoiler.
Oh.
'Cause you should have already. You need to be guessing. You should have already read these other issues, so you should be there. But then we also flash over to China, where they are dealing with uh, this. the biggest
It's the water
hydroelectric
dam.
dam that
Yeah,
actually had
yeah.
been destroyed by Inferno as well, and their other machines. Japan, they were going after the largest nuclear reactor, so there's a little bit of a theme going on here. So that puts all of our big guns out of commission, right? They're dealing with these things.
Spreading them thin, right? All at the same time, spread them thin, and they can't stop everything. Obviously that's clearly what Inferno is trying to do here. I know I can't remember which was it, 3 or 4, or maybe it was 2, where they were talking in Inferno. One of the Inferno people in the robes or whatever was, or maybe it was Mr. Terrific,
Infernians.
or yeah, and they were talking about, like, well, they're what could they be going after, right? Like, what is the purpose of them? What are they trying to accomplish? And it's like, do they want to reset? Are they trying to affect the economy? Because it seems like they're trying to attack all of these either natural disasters or something to affect the entire world, right? They're not. It's not a localized thing. They're going worldwide with this, and going after massive hydroelectric dams, going after nuclear power plants, trying to cause a meltdown, right? Like,
Well, and you think, okay, they were trying to attack the rainforest, right? That would
yeah,
create the largest ecological disaster. I mean, there'd be so much loss of plant life and everything, and basically, it would destroy so much of Earth if all the rainforest just immediately disappeared. Largest hydroelectric, largest nuclear reactor, all these other things. So
yeah,
they're trying to make a big impact, and they're trying to do it, but there's no rhyme to the reason, right? Other than that, there's the Justice League can't pinpoint what their end goal is, right? It just seems a little
right.
spotty from issue to issue. So and it's important to notice, while we see Mr. Terrific there, he's speaking to Airwave about who they're trying to unravel the mystery of who these people could be. If you look on the screens behind him, we see several members of the Legion of Doom, right? So we see Joker, we see Lex Luthor, we see Black Manta, and we see Bizarro, right?
Mhm.
So then, of course, we switch to another area of the Watchtower where we've got Batman and Martian Manhunter. And they're speaking with the Atom about tracking down Martian Manhunter's telepathic ability, because in trying to track these people down and all of the abilities that he has with his telepathy, it would be a very handy thing to have right now.
Yeah, a little bit.
So they're trying to track that down using the Atom Project, which, if you haven't started reading that series, issue 4 literally just released a couple of days ago as well. Definitely start that. I do love in these comics here, they're saying, hey, see the Captain Atom,
Checklist.
the Atom Project. Let's keep saying Captain
Yeah,
Atom, the Atom Project, um, which I think is cool. So we flash back to this other plant dimension. We see the monsters are attacking, and they're trying to protect all the delegates, but the delegates aren't wanting to listen, right? These are people who are in charge of their own countries and things like that.
yeah.
So they're used to
Too
calling
many
the shots.
chiefs, right? Not to get all uh,
Can we say
politically
that?
incorrect with it. I
Uh,
think so.
how about just why don't we
Um,
change the word a
too
little bit? Why
many.
don't we say too many chefs in the kitchen, right?
Yeah, too many
That's-
cooks in the kitchen. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, too many leaders, right? No followers. Which is, I'm sure, what happens. Like, it's funny because, like, you took these same people, they were in all these same people were together at the G20, right? But then when you take them out of that environment and put them in this chaotic one, everyone kind of freaks out and tries to take the lead and thinks they're in charge, especially when they're talking to the superheroes, right? They're like, I'm in charge. And the superheroes like, I don't have time for your BS. I'm trying to save people. Shut the hell up,
I'm
right?
sorry. Do you have superpowers?
Yeah.
you know,
Here, monster, take him, right?
right?
Like,
Like, you're in charge. Tell the plant monster what to do. See how that goes
yeah,
over. Right. So, and in this time, the superheroes are dealing with not only that, but then we kind of see Impulse, and it's looking like he's just kind of in the way, right? He's the baby brother that is just always in the way. And he's having these like visions that they're treating him like a
yeah.
kid. Like he's got the
They're
little costume
impulses,
on.
right? They're his, like, I won't call it a spidey sense, right? But that's kind of what it
Yeah.
is.
I'm too far away from my sound pad to hit that. Add in
Yeah,
post.
yeah.
But yeah, basically. But as he's kind of running around, he happens to look at one of the delegates, and that delegate is just sitting there with that cheesy smile on his face, right? And it's kind of an unmistakable kind of a smile. It doesn't look like, because you got to
He's
figure
not scared.
delegates, yeah, right. Like you're in another dimension, surrounded by plant monsters that heroes are fighting off. You think, I mean, I get, trying to act ballsy, but with a smile on your face isn't necessarily the kind of emotion you'd be eliciting, right?
Mhm.
So he goes up to. I'm trying to think. I don't want to jump ahead. So I think at that point
He
he
goes
goes
up
up
to
to
him.
the person,
Yeah.
and he recognizes them, and we see that delegate is a member of Inferno. Right, it comes to it, and that delegate uses some mental abilities to basically make Impulse forget.
Mhm.
So that's where I was getting a little confused because I didn't want to jump too far ahead in case because
Right.
what happens is we flash back to Batman and them with the Atom, and they realize that they were tracking the Martian Manhunter's telepathic ability, but it all of a sudden disappeared off the screen, and that is where we go back to. They notice the time frame from when it goes when it disappeared
It's
was
the
also
exact same time.
7:03. So they
Yeah.
realize, oh, so one of the delegates who had, or one of the who has Martian Manhunter's telepathic ability is
Is
one of the
there.
delegates that yeah got
Mhm.
teleported to another dimension. Okay,
Yep.
so then Flash is realizing that hey, you know what, we need to get out of this dimension. It's obviously not very friendly. So of course we got the lanterns there making the bubble around everybody, but he's going to vibrate them all into another dimension. He does, and we get to kind of a little more familiar of a place. So we get them all of a sudden end up in they're trying to figure out where they're at, and then Supergirl realizes it's
Where
very
they're at.
familiar, and she's like, "Oh,
Yeah.
we're in the Phantom Zone." It's like, okay, that was pretty cool. But what I like
Yeah.
is a couple of times throughout the issues, we have seen on the
You see.
Watchtower, there's that door that says Phantom Zone, right? And she even makes reference to it. She goes, yeah, it sucks we're in the Phantom Zone, but, and that's not her exact dialogue. I'm just saying, that's how I
Right.
interpret it. She goes, but this is dimension has an exit, right?
Yeah,
So
yeah.
she pries open the door to the Watchtower, and they all get out of the Phantom Zone. They're able to close it for at least right now, according to what we know in the issues. We don't know that any Phantoms escaped.
The
So
thing is, though, too, the reason I could be misremembering this, but she does say since we used a side door to get into the Phantom Zone is the reason they were able to get out of it.
well, also the reason they didn't become Phantoms, right? Because you
Mm.
you lose your corporeal form. You don't have a body when you
Yes,
go into
that's
the
right. They
Phantom
were wondering
Zone.
why they weren't phantoms.
Yeah,
That's what it was. Yeah,
and
yeah,
that's
yeah.
because this dimension has a side door. So they took the side door and go out into the Watchtower, and it's at that point they're basically met by Batman and Adam,
Hmm.
and
They're trying to like make sure none of they're trying to close it back up because there's phantoms escaping and they're trying to keep them from getting out and yeah, yeah, they see yeah, Batman and is it Batman and Mr. Terrific is there, you said?
so we see Batman, Mister. We see the Atom, and he's got his machine, right? They're tracking the power, and they track it
That's
to
right.
that delegate, right? So then at that point, uh, we we get the first look at a
Mhm.
member of Inferno, right? And
Yeah.
Mantis, do you want to tell us who it is? None other than Wolfurry.
Yeah, it's interesting because like I'd mentioned this guy before because we used to play DC Universe Online, and I remember fighting because you fight this guy in one of the I think it was a dungeon you fight him in. But the thing is, it's he has magic, right? Initially,
Well, no. So here's
like
the
his
thing.
power.
Well, go ahead and say who it is, and then we will
Yeah,
discuss
sorry,
that
it's
because
Grodd. It's
okay.
it's Gorilla Grodd. You know,
So here's the thing: Gorilla Grodd always has had mental abilities, right?
that's
So that's
yes.
where I don't get that he has Martian Manhunter's telepathic powers. I always thought that at least in like the animated series and things like that in DC Universe Online, he already possessed some form of telepathy. So why does he need Martian Manhunters? That's where like okay, it made sense that you have Garad there, and that's how he was able to do it with Flash.
Well,
But why does he have Martian
maybe
Manhunters? Did he get double
maybe
telepathy?
maybe he didn't use his telepathy powers. Maybe he used his ability to what is it when you morph? Like he could make himself look like whoever he wanted, right? Because I don't think Grodd had that ability initially, and that's definitely one of the abilities of Martian Manhunter, right?
Well,
He
yeah, but
can
yeah, he can transform into whomever, but they were tracking
shapeshift. Yeah.
his telepathic power. At least that's how the issue
Well,
reads, right?
yeah, and maybe he got all of Martian, John's all of his abilities, and he just happened to use. that's why he was looking like the delegate, like he could make himself look like whoever he wanted. And maybe, yeah, maybe he didn't really, or maybe he got his telepathic abilities enhanced by getting John's as
Because
well too. It
Martian
doesn't really
Manhunter does
explain it.
have a much greater telepathic abilities than Grodd, right? So maybe
Mhm.
he got him upped. That's how he's able to do some more things, right? But either
Yeah.
way, it's Grodd. Okay, so we now know who one of them is, which honestly kind of gives us, based off of what we saw on the screens earlier, kind of gives us, because the next scene, what we see is Airwave
Mhm.
comes in to get Grodd out of there, right? They now realize Airwave is a plant. He's a mole.
I have a mole?
Yeah, Grodd's like, now get me the hell out of here right now. It's time to spring the trap or whatever, which, and maybe it wasn't initially clear that wasn't the intended use of Airwave, right? Like Airwave was there, he was going to do something else, but because the plan that Grodd had of taking everyone into that other zone, and they got out of there, right? And he was in the watchtower. They even say, you can't escape, right? It's locked down tight, Grodd. You're not getting out of here. He had to kind of jump the gun and kind of expose Airwave as the mole to get
Break
him out,
glass in
right?
case of emergency kind of a thing,
Yeah,
right?
that wasn't. I don't think that was his intended
It
point.
was
That
not,
Airwave.
because when we saw Airwave initially and we find out that he's a double agent, he's like, "I'm gonna kill. I have to kill you all," right? Like that's kind of seemed like
Yeah.
he was gonna like open the main door to the watchtower and vacuum them all into space. Even though I think a couple of them would be fine.
Good. That's because I blew it out of the goddamn airlock.
Um,
Right.
But so we see that we see Grodd leave, and then we go to Grodd is in front of the rest of the hooded Inferno figures, but then we get a view of everybody, right? Um, so then we
Hmm.
see Lex Luthor, we see the Joker, we see Scarecrow, we see Black Manta,
Sinestro.
a Sinestro, Bizarro Superman, Captain Cold. Now, the interesting thing is when they were talking
Captain
about
Cold.
these people, because they were mentioned earlier in the issue, they said, "Oh, Sinestro's back with the Green Lantern Corps," right?
Yeah.
Lex
Yep.
Luthor has no memory. Joker, they basically were kind of making it sound like
They
all
couldn't
these
find
people,
Joker.
yeah, but all these people
This
had
is
kind of moved on, right?
right.
And now we see them here as basically the new Legion of Doom is back. Now, the
Hmm.
interesting thing with this, and this is kind of the annoying thing with this, is like what gave it away where they had to go to the backup plan, the plan F, as in
Hmm.
we are totally
That sounds more like a plan F, doesn't it? As in, we are totally. We can.
no,
Yeah.
is that the delegates there smiling, right? And the way he's smiling almost gives you like that's Joker, right? Like that's
Oh
who you're
yeah.
thinking is it's going to be Joker because we see Joker now, right? Because why would Grodd, if he's morphed to look like somebody else, why would he just be there smiling? Well, dude, to play the role, right? Otherwise, what are you doing that for?
Hmm.
That seems like kind of a big error. Now, granted, it's probably just plot armor, right? We need to have that. It just
Oh
it
yeah.
just seemed like somebody as smart as Grodd, even though he's a fucking gorilla, like you would be smarter than that. I don't know. Could
Yeah.
just be me.
Yeah. You would think, and again, you also have to assume that unless there's something we don't know, and I haven't read all of the Atom Project of who got whoever's powers, right? I don't think they ever explain, like it wasn't a targeted, well, we're gonna take your power and put it on this person, right? Like, so Grodd just happened to get Martian Manhunter's powers. That's pretty fucking convenient. You know what I mean?
Well, and let us know down in the comments if you want us to do the Atom Project. We can go through the first, what we can do similar. We don't have to necessarily do one issue per episode that we do. We can do like a couple of issue to kind of catch everybody up on the Atom Project because that's its own separate storyline. We're going to focus on this one for right now, but let us know down in the comments if you've read it, if you want us to kind of go through it like we've been breaking down the Absolute Universe and the Justice League universe. But as of right now in the Justice League Unlimited universe, yes, it is very convenient of how these people are getting these powers. It's like they're just there,
True.
and you just like it's like one of the icons in the shitty Superman game. Oh, I'll take telepathic abilities. you
Yep.
know, like did he go to his character upgrade screen? Like what is happening here right now? Because yeah, they don't really go into it, but that's why they do the spin-off series. So
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too, because I mean this series had parademons in it at the beginning, which they haven't really used. Um at all anymore.
Which is why it seems like bringing the Legion is just an odd, like, I
It
was
is.
kind of hoping for a new set of villains, like this be a
Yeah.
completely different thing versus it just being basically the Legion of Doom reborn kind of thing, because we already saw parademons, right? So now you're like,
Right.
where is this going? Or
Mhm.
is the Legion going to be controlled by Dark Side, which then also spawns into, you learn a little more about that if you read the New Gods series that spawned off of this as well too, because you kind of learn a little bit more about what's going on with that. So I will say All In Comics is doing a fantastic job with branching these off with little tidbits that make you just want to know what's going on, which is why
They're
both
doing
Mantis and I have like a 20 freaking comic book backlog that I gotta try to get through because I can't even keep up with it all.
they're doing a great job of draining my bank account is what they're doing.
They are doing
Um,
that, yes. Like I told Mantis, like I got out of the comic book store. I was $50 getting for the week, right? I think I spent 30 something last week. It's
that's what they yeah, let's know in the comments how much you spend on comics. Like how much do you guys spend? And maybe I'm crazy and I think that's a lot.
You're crazy. You're crazy, man. You're crazy. I like you, but you're crazy.
And maybe it's not. I don't know. But and here again, like we're only I mean, I've been buying a few Marvel side things, like the Deadpool Wolverine stuff, but like most of the stuff we've been getting has all been DC all in, like specifically. Um and it's just there's a lot going on in this just the Justice League Unlimited quote unquote all in universe because again, Cal mentioned the New Gods, the Atom Project. There's also
Aquaman's
the
tying into that.
Question, Aquaman, the Batman running series, Superman running. I mean, all of these are kind of intertwined. Green Lantern, I think, as well, is all intertwined into this the storyline. But then you also, on top of that, have all the Absolute stuff that's not technically in this, but it is being released right now, and it's great too. It's just crazy, you
Which,
know.
guys, we are going to have. So we did initial videos with the Absolute Universe when we had Absolute Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman. We did kind of wrap up videos of several of the issues of that. We are going to do some follow ups because not only have we gotten, all of them have at least 5 issues. We're into several issues. Several of them got 6 issues now. Uh, and they're going to continue. They initially said they were like Wonder Woman and Batman were going to be 5. Now they're actually going into 6. Like Wonder Woman 6 just came out. But also now we have Absolute Flash, Martian Manhunter, and Green Lantern. So we are going to be doing videos kind of introducing the second wave of the Absolute universe. So be on the lookout for those as well.
Mhm.
And then again, we will continue on with this. If there are any particular areas of the Absolute Universe you guys would like to see videos that focus more on, because when we did the Absolute Universe in the beginning, we kind of did a general overview of multiple issues across all of them. We're like with Justice League here, we are kind of like narrowed down onto particular, one issue at a time. However, we just don't have that time to put out that many videos because they won't stop putting out comics. Because last thing here, guys, it is at the time of recording, we are into April, what, 3rd? Yep. So we have started the summer of Superman, even though it's kind of spring and tornadoes going all crazy right now. We are
Mhm.
into the summer of Superman. So later on this month, we will be getting the reprint of Action Comics #1, June 1938, the first appearance of Superman. And we will be doing a whole video on that just alone. And then maybe at some point we'll get a new Superman trailer, the first full length trailer. God only knows. We're a month out from the movie coming out.
Yeah, and I will say another that'll be I don't know which one if you're going to release this video or the next one we're about to record, which one you're going to release first. However, be on the lookout for the next DC news video we do because we're going to be kind of talking about some news that came out of the Superman DCU camp, which is encouraging for the people that are wanting this to succeed. But I'm sure it is kind of the people who are still sucking on uh, Zack
Zack Snyder's.
Snyder's. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, they probably don't like it. But hey,
Well,
keep an eye
actually,
out for that video and
we're
look.
getting ready. By the time we wrap these videos, I've got another video that's going to release today. That one we'll record here in a minute. We'll probably release next, and then this one will release next Thursday. So we'll be like 2 weeks out from this issue releasing, guys. So be on the lookout for that. And if you have made it with us this far, you might as well go ahead and give the video a like if you did enjoy our comic content here.
Mhm.
Okay, there you go. I was like, all right, fine. Don't show him where, but he's showing you where. Subscribing to the channel so you don't miss out on all of what we had just talked about. These videos coming out, as well as we continue to go down the rabbit hole of the comics, this new wave coming out. And then let us know, like, how do you guys feel about these comics or videos? Are you liking where we do these more in-depth breakdowns of the comics themselves? I try to show a lot of the comics, so if you don't want to, maybe you don't even have to buy it. You can just watch it here, and you get to see most of it. So,
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah.
because on these I buy 2 issues, so I have one that I can kind of just so I can put on the screen. That is the commitment we make here at You, Me, and DC for you guys. All right, so. I feel like that's worth at least a like, right? We're not asking you to.
I think so.
We don't have a Patreon. We're not asking you to give us money. We're just asking you to give a like and a sub, man, if you haven't already. And I don't.
Yeah.
And we're doing it at the end. I don't feel like that's too much to ask, guys. Come on now. We're trying to be good here. Shoot a little bit of that goodness our ways. So
Yeah, on him though. Shoot your goodness on him.
if that's what it takes, man. Load me up with goodness. That's fine. That's the sacrifice I make, guys. All right. Before we get canceled, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up on this episode of You, Me, and DC, guys. Until next time, we'll see you then.
Later.